What is the difference between the Gumball Rally and the Cannon Run?
Cannon Run's an affordable price. That's the difference. I think value-wise, value for money, obviously Cannon Run is $7,000, as you said, for 2 people. Get everything Gumball give you, but in my opinion, you get a little bit more because we do the extra stuff, like I said, the recoveries, the luggage, all that. But they're the reason my Aventador is currently blown up. So I'm holding Damon Fry directly responsible because I've seen him do his turbos on his F12 and I went and strapped turbos on the Aventador straight away. I was like, if DD are doing it and Cannon Run are doing it, so let's get the Aventador and let's twin turbo it. The year at 1,000 horsepower and now it's in having a full engine rebuild, so thanks for the inspiration, guys.
Everybody knows I like cars and for that matter, supercars. My next podcast guest, a man called Jay Cannon, has his own rally. He's a businessman, he's been talking to me about his background and plans for the future. Be happy, never content, and please share this with your family and friends. Right, welcome back to the podcast, Stephen Sully's Study. Everybody knows my life is about business, it's about podcasting, it's about art. I have a big passion for cars. So I think this next podcast interview is going to be a very fitting one to the lifestyle, and I think the audience are going to get a lot of inspiration and motivation from the back end of it. So, Mr. Jay Cannon, welcome to the podcast, mate, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Cool. So, you are the CEO and the owner of the Cannon Run. I've seen a few different descriptions, but in your own words, how would you describe what you do and what the brand is?
Okay, so we are a driving holiday company. So we put on package holidays for people that are petrolheads. We do all different events. We do different priced events as well, so we cater for everybody, so we don't leave anybody behind. So our main event is the Mega Run, which is 8 days across Europe. The locations change every year, but in a nutshell, you get a 5-star hotel every evening, your Eurotunnel crossing outbound for you and your car, a VIP party every night or a VIP event every night, and then the daytime drives are phenomenal. So the roads are breathtaking, the scenery is crazy, and the hotels are all, 10 out of 10. So it's a rolling lifestyle event, if you like, really.
So I actually done a little bit of homework on the Mega Run 2023 and it looks really good. So you're hitting London, Luxembourg, Lyon, Monaco, Bologna, Florence, Senna and Rome. And that, it seems really good value for money. £6,995.
Yeah, for 2 people, that is, yeah.
Obviously in one car. So, okay, a couple of things. How do you come up with the locations, the stop-offs? And how do you price it at that value?
It's priced relatively well. Within our industry, there is a few companies that probably appear to the outside world to do the same job as what we do. And we've sort of priced ourselves very competitively within our industry. So yeah, that's that side of it. The destinations we choose are always hotspots, whether they're motoring hotspots or lifestyle hotspots. So you touched on Monaco. Obviously, Monaco is the home of the rich and famous. Italy, Formula One, of course. And Italy is obviously the home of Ferrari, Lamborghini, and various other supercar brands. So that's how we sort of plan it. And we do Monaco for 2 nights on the run as a break, so it's not constant driving. But the best hotels put the best events on, like Monaco day 2 will be at Nicky Beach for the whole afternoon, celebrating the run and having drinks. But it's also not just a package holiday, it's a networking phenomenon. That's how I can describe it. The people that you meet are of a very good calibre. They're all business giants or celebrities or very wealthy individuals from whatever their backgrounds are. And of course, as you know, when you go and do a networking evening, you meet somebody, you'll exchange a business card. You haven't built any form of relationship, have you? You've just said hello, introduced yourself, and then decided maybe you'll have a phone call at some point. With Cannon Run, you're spending a week on the road, the highs, the lows, the drinks, the happiness, the celebrations, and you end up forming genuine, lifelong friendships. And I've seen some of the biggest deals I've ever seen in my life happen on Cannon Run for people that have just met each other. And obviously they know that they're all around a good circle of people that don't want anything from each other, so they all feel safe, secure, and yeah.
As I mentioned to you before we started, you're 31, I'm 37 today.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, mate. And part of my motivation to do podcasts and to, let's say, build up a social media following based upon conversations like this is so a younger person who doesn't even know this type of thing even exists as far as job opportunity, career, passion, like to build something. So the question I'm going to ask you is this: like at 31 years of age, when you were looking back at school, did you ever think like this was even a sort of a career that you could go down, and even a business?
No.
Because for me, it was the conventional things: the plumber, sparky, a carpenter, or even like a doctor or a police officer.
Before the days of social media.
Yeah. So like, how did you ever even come up with this idea?
So when I was young, I actually wanted to be a lawyer for a bit. I don't know where that came from. And then I wanted to go into the scrap game because that's what my dad did. But when I kind of spread my wings a little bit, I went on an event which was, I guess, similar to what we do now. But it was the best week of my life. Even still to this day, that was the best week of my life. Not because of the event, not because of the people that hosted it, because of my age, I suppose, my uneducated mind at that sort of age, being out in Europe, sort of driving through amazing places that I'd never even heard of before. All the excitement and stuff, obviously it fades as you do it again and again and again, doesn't it? But then was like everything was brand new to me. The whole world was new when you're that sort of age. So I thought about the event when I got back. I've always been semi-business minded because my dad and my nan, I lived with my nan when I was growing up, they're both very, very, very successful in business, and it was always around me from a young age. So I kind of sat back and looked at it and thought that event was amazing. However, it could be 10 times better. So me and one of my friends, we tried to create something similar then. After that event, I actually met him on the event. And because of like the name, I wanted to use Cannon Run, and he didn't want to use Cannon Run because he was like, everyone will think it's your brand and we're doing it together. So we launched this little thing, and it was never anything, and we were too young to know what we were doing at all. So that tried, failed, was dead in the water, and then I went off and just carried on doing what I've always done, which is buying and selling stuff, whether it be cars or car parts, or it was always something car related. So that was kind of me thoughts around the situation then. It just wasn't going to work, and it was dead to me. And then about 4 years later, obviously I'd grown up a little bit, kind of head was in a different place. I'd already been quite successful in another business which actually failed, but wasn't through any fault of mine. And I was living in Spain at the time, and I'd been there for about 3 years, and I was living in a heavily Spanish populated area, and it was sort of getting me down a bit. You couldn't just go into the shop in the morning and say hello to anybody because I couldn't speak the language, and I missed home, but I also didn't want to be at home all the time and have to work a 9-to-5 job where I was stuck. So I thought about Cannon Run all over again, or the concept of Cannon Run, without thinking about the name at the time, and I decided to give it a go. So Cannon Run was born. I was 23, 24, and I released the Mega Run, which back then was just the Cannon Run. It was not ever the Mega Run, it was just the Cannon Run European event. There was never any UK trips. It was just always in my head because the other brand had done a European event and that's all they did. And also Gumball were around at the time and all they did was worldwide events. It was never in my head to do a local one. So end of year one, not one booking came in for Cannon Run, nothing. I had loads of interest, loads of conversations, but nothing materialised. So I thought, right, I need to now do something where I can create traction, I can get content, I can have stuff under my belt within the business, but also not ask people to part with such amount of money. Bear in mind, the Mega Run back then was nowhere near what it is now. It was nowhere near as long or as prestigious or as expensive as what it is today. So the Cannon Run Valentine's Run was created. Worst idea ever. Couples do not want to go on a supercar event at Valentine's weekend. But still, we had 20 cars book. I said online that there were supercars coming and didn't have any supercars coming at all at the time. And then one day this guy rang up and booked on 5 Lamborghinis for the Valentine's Run. So he came, and Cannon Run was kind of born then. That was the creative weekend, I suppose, where I just looked at it as no profit, but plenty of content, Lamborghinis with the branding on. And then obviously looked at the business again. Valentine's was not an option again to do, so Spring Break was created. So Spring Break is still an annual event for us now. And it was a low budget event, so 4-star hotels, a short weekend around the UK, no ferries, no extra costs, I don't think we even included breakfast back then. I think it was about £350 a car or £400 a car. And I started getting good numbers coming in, like 25 cars on the next run. I was like, right, sound. And then the numbers were going up to 40 cars and 50 cars. And I thought, right, okay, this is going well now. We're getting somewhere. Let's try and do the mega run again. So it was called the Cannon Run European trip, whatever it was back then. And I think I got about 38, maybe 40 cars booked, something like that, which was, for me, that was phenomenal. And we did all of Italy, and we did the Stelvio Pass, and we did Lake Como, and we did a little bit of Monaco. It was, unbelievable. I'm 24. I've got 40 supercars out in Europe with my name all over them, and I'm like, my head's gone with it. Like, not in a bad way, in a great way. I was like really, really proud. And there was a guy on the trip, and his name was James, and he was really bubbly. He was driving a Ferrari F12, so to me, he was one of the big boys, because I still wasn't really a supercar owner then. Like, I had a Ferrari, but it was on finance, so I didn't really look at it as being mine, because let's face it, the bank owned your car until it's paid off. So yeah, he was one of the big boys, and he brought a few lads with him who were also in Ferraris and Lambos, and I got on really, really well with him. And at this time, I was working for Park Dean Resorts, selling holiday homes. So that was the biggest commission that was the biggest amount of commission you could get in any industry in the UK for sales. So you're on like 25k a year basic, and on like £1,000, 1,200 quid per unit. So I was doing like 15 grand a month. So basically I worked there for 12 months in between, stacked a bit of money, and then put it back into Cannon Run. But went off on a tangent. So I met James, and I was stood at the top of the Stelvio Pass with my boss at the time. He was actually on the trip from Park Dean Resorts. He was in Lamborghini Aventador, and he went, "You're not coming back, are you?" And I went, "No, mate, I ain't coming back." So after the trip, James contacted me, and he was like, "Great event, mate. Probably a few pointers for you that I can give you. A bit of constructive criticism if you're willing to take it, etc. And if you fancy having a chat about the business, come and see me." So I drove up to Preston as soon as I got back off the run. So straight from Calais to Preston, pretty much, to go and meet James. And I pulled up at this great big white manor house, which was like unbelievable. Went in, met his wife, met his little boy. Sat down, and James is 38 now, I'm 31, so he's 7 years older than me. So it was like sitting with almost a sort of elderly brother figure who you could tell had no ulterior motive other than, yeah, he wanted to earn money with me, of course, but he wanted to try and help me, even if I wasn't interested in his business proposition. So he said, "Look, let's go in on the business together. I can see a great light at the end of the tunnel for Cannon Run, and I can see a lot of areas of the business that you're missing revenue from." So we sat down, we negotiated a deal, and the new partnership was formed, and that was about 5 years ago now, 6 years ago. And James is still with me now, and now we really are like brothers. Like, it's a real good, strong relationship. We don't really fall out. We have the odd little bicker here and there, but what brotherly partnership doesn't? And together we're a great driving force. So that was the new chapter of Cannon Run, and then that's when we started getting real traction then, because there was some big people starting to come on board as clients and stuff, and that's when it started to get legs.
So I've only had one real experience of doing a rally, which I'll get onto in a minute, and we can talk about that. When I was doing one, I thought this is amazing, but at the same time, I also thought if I was the owner's shoes or someone who had to organise it, I'd be so kind of intimidated because there's so many moving parts. Going from destination to destination, the cars, the people, the events, the performances, the food. It's a minefield.
It is, yeah.
So the question I want to ask you is, what pitfalls are in your business?
When you say pitfalls, what do you mean by that? Sorry.
Like the event. Okay, so you've got the business, and then you actually have the event. So what would you say each and every single time you do it, you come across
problems,
certain hurdles, certain challenges and problems?
All right, so I'll give you the perfect example of this. So when we were in COVID, we were very luckily filming with Sky TV for a new documentary at the time, which was called Spotting London's Supercars, and we were a huge part of the show. And filming during COVID gave you the ability to carry on with business, because it was an essential part of people's life to watch new TV. So obviously that rule stood for Great Britain, and that was great because we could do spring break and we could do September Slammer and whatever else in between. But I got really cheeky, and when the lockdown lifted, I rang my business partner James and said, "I'm going to do Mega Run." He went, "Listen, it's on you, bro. I'm not. I can't give you my opinion on this because I just think it's too dodgy, whatever. So I released Mega Run, and it sold out in 24 hours, like literally no spaces left, because obviously everyone had been locked up. They wanted to get out, they wanted to get away, and Cannon Run was the big light at the end of the tunnel for them with the Mega Run being launched. So 24 hours, 20 hours before we're due to leave, clients' bags are packed, cars are ready to go, launch party is literally being set up right now at a venue in central London, and France shut their border to Great Britain. Like, what are we going to do now? Like, the phones are ringing, people are like, what are we doing, what's going on? So we're now sat around a table like this, me, my business partner, my manager, a couple of our other staff that we've got, and mate, we were on the phone to everybody. So we were ringing a barrister in France who was onto the French government. We were trying to pay €50,000 for a police escort to take us directly through France, so we was only using it as a corridor. We spoke to the guys with the Antonov jets to try and fly the cars over France, but the cost to get the jets from Russia to Britain and then from Britain to France was just, it wasn't even doable. It was mental money. We tried to book a private cargo ship, wouldn't happen. The dates were wrong for the ferry. If you go for the ferry from Santander to Portsmouth or vice versa, they only run out of Britain on a Tuesday and a Thursday. We needed to leave on Wednesday. So it was like, what do we do? It was mental, mate. So we came up with the only alternative that we could, when I feel most people would have probably postponed the event. And we decided to, yes, postpone the Mega Run as you know it until August, which was 2 months away from where we were sitting. But we also booked a private jet with 150 seats from Biggins Hill Airport in South London.
I live right near there. Literally 10 minutes down the road.
Yeah, so we booked a private jet from there, direct to Ibiza. Now, bear in mind, that's fine. We've now got the clients out of Britain into Spain. But I've got hotels paid for in France, 2 of them, at a lot of money. And France, the hotels are going, it's not our problem, you can't get here. So I'm like, well, it's your country that shut the borders. Our borders are open. So now I've got hotels out the window, problems. I've got hotels to replace, because obviously when we get to Ibiza, that was only the finish area. So there's only 2 nights of hotels booked in Ibiza. So we had to find another 4 nights in Ibiza for the clients to give them that time that they paid for. So yeah, that was a big problem, but we did it, and it actually worked out fairly well for us, because out of the whole call list, I went, Tom, we're going to have to ring everyone, mate, and we're going to have to break the news to them about the jet and stuff. And half the people were like, that's mega, let's go. And the other half of the people were like, yeah, okay, that's sound, but we still want to do the Mega Run. So they were some were happy to postpone till August, and a lot were happy to come on the jet. But there was a group that did actually both. So some of them came to Ibiza on the private jet, and then some of them did the Mega Run as well. So it didn't work out too bad for us in the end. But that was like, the whole team were going grey, mate. I was on the verge of like probably throwing up, sort of thing. It was real tough. And COVID as a whole was tough. So normally with our events, we can go to a nightclub or a casino or a very upmarket bar or whatever, and book out the VIP area for our clients. But during COVID, the hotels would open for us because we were booking them out in full, and we were in a COVID bubble for filming. But there's no nightclubs open, so we had to then think, right, we can't just get all the guests to the hotel and then go, well, enjoy your night in your room, guys, because that's not Cannon Run. So Reset Music was born. Reset Music will become a registered charity this year. And what we did last year was we put out a campaign where we were looking for young artists that were from not a great background, where they'd had it rough, or they'd struggled with day-to-day life or family or whatever it is. And if they had a good natural talent, we would pay them for their studio time to get them in the studio, creating Cannon Run tracks, music, making music videos for them, and actually taking these guys on the Mega Run, and it was giving them a huge inspiration to succeed in life, showing them Marbella and the Pyrenees Mountains and the Lamborghinis and the Ferraris, and their minds are like, well, they've only ever seen the streets of Brixton or Leeds or wherever it is that they're from. So that in itself was another challenge. We had to replace all the nightclubs. So as I said, bringing in our own entertainment. We've actually now got a full in-house rolling entertainments team, which is made up of a few guys who sing for us, Turner, SP, Joey, a guy called Sean, and then we've got a couple of musicians as well. Nino Violin on Instagram. He plays violin to like jazz music. It's brilliant, mate. Or to house music, sorry, not jazz music. And we've got a jazz sax that plays the house and stuff like that. So they come on the whole event with us. So wherever we stop off, it's never dead. Even if we do go to the clubs now, we implement that in the clubs. So yes, we'll come to your club, we'll bring you all of these amazing clients who are going to spend in your club. But for doing that, we want to see our guys up on your stage, because this is about a cannon run night. So it gives them an opportunity to get in front of a crowd, to get comfortable on the stage, on the mic, and it just gives them a taste of something that they've never experienced. And hopefully with our platform, yes, we're not the biggest thing in the world, but we can put them on a bit of a bigger platform than what they're currently on, and hopefully expose them to people like you guys who see us through social media.
You've probably been asked this a million times, but I just want to get it straight from the horse's mouth. With a business like yours, I imagine, I've never run one, having a lot of wealthy individuals, late nights, drinking, everything else that comes with it, and then also got supercars.
Yes.
After a few days, I've experienced this myself, where you feel fatigued and you're going fast and you know that something could go wrong. Yeah. Have you ever had any crashes on the cannon run?
Touch wood, we've got a 99% safety rating, and the way I'm working that rating out, by the way, is 1 crash, 1%. So when I'm down to 0, you know there's been 100 crashes. So I'd say 99%. There was a crash on Mega Run this year, and it was of no fault of the guys at all. So basically, he had a blowout, and he was doing about 90 mile an hour on the motorway. Yes, he was doing 10 mile an hour of the speed limit, but unfortunately, it did cause him to lose control of his car. However, on the cannon run, which is what you won't see on any other rally, is we have 2 of our own prestigious built recovery vehicles that are designed for supercars. So our lorry was 20 minutes behind him, straight on the hard shoulder, recovered the car. And also on the cannon run, which we've done through just lessons really of the business, we bring 2 paramedics on the trip with us that are currently in service with Liverpool Ambulance. Gentleman's name's Craig and the lady's name's Jodie. And they were literally 10 minutes behind him in one of our cannon run vehicles. So within 15, 20 minutes, we had a recovery vehicle on scene, cannon run paramedics on scene before the police had even got there. So it's like, yes, accidents can happen. Touch wood, they don't. We do major safety briefings. And one thing that I say in every single briefing is, if I catch you dangerous driving, and I'm talking like dangerous where you're overtaking on a blind bend, or you undertake somebody on the hard shoulder, you're gone. It's not even a conversation. I won't be coming over and going, mate, please don't do that again. I'm going to be coming over and going, listen, you're not welcome. You have to leave in the nicest, most respectable way. You can't be around my people, because if you kill somebody, you cause a big accident, you damage one of our brands that we're involved with, it's us that has to answer for it. And we've built a fairly good reputation in that way, and we won't have it tarnished. That's the bottom line. What car was it that crashed? Audi R8.
Expensive bill for the owner?
Expensive bill for the insurance. Yeah. But no, it's all good, mate. The car was brought back to the UK. It was a write-off, and as far as I'm aware, the guys have been paid out. So
that's good. Okay. So I touched on earlier about my only experience was this year from Toronto down to Miami, and like I mentioned earlier, I'm 37 years of age today. When I was younger and YouTube started becoming a thing, there was always the supercars I was looking at, and it would always take you to Gumball Rally. And for many, many years, I was like, oh my God, that is the epitome of like being successful. Obviously now I know, growing up as more of a business person, I know there's more to life than just supercars. But when I was younger, having a nice watch, having a bit of a nice lifestyle, having a nice car, a Lambo or a Ferrari, I kind of felt that was the be all and end all of being successful. So I always wanted to go on to this Gumball Rally. And everything I thought it was going to be, it was, and also better. I've got not one bad thing to say about it. I thought it was great.
So when you said that you was a bit fatigued on Gumball, is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's why on Cannon Run we implement a 2-day break halfway through, and on Cannon Run we don't do a party at a nightclub every night. So we calculate the days. On the short days, we'll have a big party in the evening where there's a short day the next day where you can do an 11 a.m. checkout and have a late start. But on a heavy driving day, you'll find yourself seated in a really upmarket restaurant, 3-course meal sort of thing. Or there'll be an in-house evening at the hotel. The hotels are all phenomenal. But we can't have tired drivers, a mix of drink driving or any of that, because let's face it, the police come down on you very hard, and it's not the individual client that's going to get the problem in the press, it's going to be the Cannon Run. Yeah. So we really, really plan the trip to be a late night here with a late start the next day and a short drive. and the 2-day break in between gives you a massive energy boost. Obviously, you're relaxing in Monaco. Yeah, you're going to go out and have a drink, of course, but the next day you can get up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon if that's what makes you happy.
Yeah.
You've got plenty of time to recharge on the cannon run. So whereas I know Gumball, a lot of people call it a rolling party. This is a rolling, relaxing adventure holiday with a sprinkling of Monaco nightlife in between.
I've got to be honest. I think part of, well, probably the biggest thing to blame for that is because where it was my first time, I just wanted to give it 110%. So I was trying to do all the clubs, also trying to get up early and do all the driving, and I was very much to blame for that. But now it's at my system once. I feel if I do it again, which I'm planning to do, I'll treat it a bit more kind of relaxed intensity. Anyway, the question I was coming to is this, which you probably get asked all the time, Jay. Okay. What is the difference between the Gumball Rally and the Cannon Run?
The Cannon Run's an affordable price. That's the difference. Okay, so the hotels, I know the hotels that are used on Gumball, and I know they're no different calibre to ours. Like when we stay in Monaco, it's the Hermitage. When we stay in Marbella, it was the Villa Padiana, which was actually a 6-star hotel. It's now been reduced to 5. I don't know why their star system was mixed up, but the hotels are phenomenal. What you do get on Gumball, from a visual perspective, from what I can see, is you get huge crowds. What we find is we've pulled crowds in plenty of times. We've done it in the past. We find a lot of our clients who have a 250 grand watch on their wrist, a bag with their jewellery in or whatever it is, because you know these guys that are really up there, you know, money-wise, they do have valuable things with them on the events. It's a lifestyle event, and that's a fact. And we don't ever want to see anybody get in a predicament where a watch has gone missing or something's happened in a malicious way from a member of the public, because we are in a new day and age, and as you know, you live in London yourself, watch crime and stuff is a real thing now. The last thing we want is one of our clients to come unstuck in a city where they're not comfortable, and they're far away from home. So we try and keep our routes very private. Yes, you know the city stops. You don't know unless you book onto the Cannon Run, and neither do the Cannon Runners. They know briefly what you know, and I'll speak to them on the phone as a client, but they won't know the exact routes, times and days until they get their itinerary on the morning of the event. So the crowds look amazing on Gumball, but for me, there's a huge safety aspect there, a safety element to come into it, like, and I've seen it happen, you know, I've seen it before. So yeah, quality-wise, I don't believe we're any different at all. We carry your luggage for you, we recover your cars for you if you break down, we own our own coaches to take you to and from the evening events. We actually go above and beyond, I believe, any other business that do what we do, if you know what I mean. Yeah. And I think because I was not the first person to do it, obviously Max was the first person to ever create a rally, wasn't he really? Obviously Cannonball was a thing on the film and stuff like that over in America, but Gumball was the real first rally, wasn't it? Yeah. So he has been able to set his prices where he wants and benchmark what he wants to, hasn't he? Because there was no one else out there to compete. But if you're going to go into that sort of industry, you need to have reasons why people are going to look at you and consider you and not them. And you know, we do have a few clients now, a fair few clients that have been on Gumball, and they come on our event, and our event is different to Gumball's in a lot of ways. As I've said to you, it's not a rolling rock star party. It's a networking holiday with a little bit of amazing nightlife sprinkled in between, so that the safety's still there. But yeah, I think value for money, obviously Cannon Run is $7,000, as you said, for 2 people. You get a week, you get everything Gumball give you, but in my opinion you get a little bit more, because we do the extra stuff, like I said, the recoveries, the luggage, all that. Yeah.
Look, it's no different to what we've got here. So me and my business partner, we're not per se from the art market. We found ourselves right place, right time. I'm the founder, so I founded the brand back in 2014. And did I ever really visualise that I would have a gallery in Mayfair? Bearing in mind, we've only been here for just over a month. We launched next week on the 21st. And I know from clients and also from people I've spoken to that there are the old school galleries in Mayfair who have been around for decades. They've been around. Family members have handed down the galleries down to their family members. So to have 2 young guys who are not per se from the art market rock into this space, we're actually disrupting the industry, and that's our
what you like.
intention.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, we want to take an already existing model and tweak it, and make it a little bit more youthful or a little bit more younger. So I totally resonate with what you've done.
Yeah,
but as you were sort of getting into this space, were there, did you get inspired from what anyone else was doing in your space and also Gumball, or did you have any challenges from them?
Yeah, I had plenty of challenges, mate. So we did a European event which was 3,000 kilometres. So the event was called the Cannon Run 3000. So little old Jay, not much money around him, quite young, gets a letter come through from Maximilian and Gumball, cease and desist, basically. Which, if you don't know what that means, cease and desist letter is you either shut your doors or we're taking you to court. And the reasons were listed things like copyright infringement. There's loads of stuff on there which was actually a lot of stuff that wasn't even correct. And it was sent from a real big law firm in London. And obviously that's very intimidating for someone that's not in a hugely financial stable position, which I wasn't, and I was in a new business, which was the Cannon Run. So long story short, it ended up costing me 25 grand, and it never even went to court. But I believe 3 or 4 other companies actually shut their doors that day because they received letters as well. And that was a bit of a kick in the teeth for me because, no matter what my opinion is now, Gumball is, and especially back then was, like a huge inspiration. Like, it was mental when it used to watch Gumball's stuff. And I think back then it wasn't even, there was no social media when I used to see Gumball stuff. I think Gumball did a couple of DVDs that went out in magazines and stuff. And watching it, I was like, that is unreal. And to be fair, I watch Gumball now and I'm like, lads, you smashed it. Like, it's serious and it's a completely different league, mate. But again, the price is a completely different league, so their budget's a completely different league. So that was a bit of a kick in the teeth, but we overcame the problem. I'm still here. I'm not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, and it'll take a lot more than a letter from a law firm to put me anywhere, to be honest. Yeah.
So, like a lot of people in your space, including Gumball, and I've seen there's like the Gold Rush brand.
So Gold Rush is abroad. It's in America. They don't come out of America, so they're no problem for us. I actually follow Gold Rush. I think they've got a great event. I think it looks spectacular online. They've got some amazing people involved, and their routes are phenomenal. But they're in their country doing their thing. We're over here doing our thing. So, if anyone from Gold Rush is watching, mad respect, guys.
So I know there's a few different people, and it does seem like you draw in a lot of successful people. Obviously, the cars, the women, the lavish lifestyle, and then you have the high-profile people, whether they're celebrities, whether they're well-known footballers or athletes, boxers, etc. And a few of the podcast guests I've had on, such as Tamer Hassan, Dapper Laughs, have actually been on the Cannon Run. Yeah. So, how do you kind of not entice, probably the wrong word. How do you actually attract these kind of celebrity type people to go on your rally?
I'll tell you a funny story about Tamer. So basically, Cannon Run was absolutely doing my head in, like really doing my head in, to the point where I was just like, I was nearly had enough of the job. And I was in business with James at this time, but still business doesn't always go smoothly, as you know. And I was sat round a pool in Marbella. I know that sounds mad that I was having a tough time sat around a pool in Marbella, but no matter, where you are in business, you could be anywhere in the world, and if your head's done in, your head's done in. So I get a phone call off a random number, and it's this woman, and her name's Camilla. Hi, this is Camilla calling. Is this the Cannon Run? I'm like, yeah, hey, how's it going? Yeah, I'm Tamer Hassan's manager, agent, whatever she said. And I watched, Football Factory and Layer Cake and The Business, particularly when I was growing up. They were a few favourites of mine. And so I was like, my manager at the time was sat on the other side of the pool, and I was like, it's fucking Tamer Hassan's manager's on the phone, what the fuck? And I was only young then, so it was like, Tam was a big celeb back then. He was like current, the films were current. So Tamer, he basically said to me on the phone, Tamer wants to come on the run. He's got a car, he just wants to come on the trip. He's happy to do some promotion for you, he's happy to work with you guys on whatever you need, and he wants to meet you all. So I was like, yeah, sound, that's mega. Before that, Dapper was on the run the year before, and me and Dapper actually got on really well. I spent a lot of time with him, like to the point where he even flew out to Marbella to come and celebrate a birthday with me one time. And the first time I met Tamer was on FaceTime to Dapper when we was in a McLaren on the Autobahn doing like 175 mile an hour. I wasn't on FaceTime. Dapper was on FaceTime with Tamer, and he was like, "Look, Jay's driving, rah rah." So that was the first time. So yeah, it's I suppose it's the marketing we do really. We're very busy with promoting the business. We're very active. Yeah, so I'm a firm believer in activity breeds activity. So we're active 24/7, mate. It's non-stop, and whether that be getting videos done, pushing content out, advertising the trips through Google Ads, Facebook, Instagram ads. There's loads of different ways of obviously marketing your business, but the best way of marketing your business is in person for me. So I'm here, there, and everywhere 24/7, meeting people, networking, and pushing every day. So yeah.
There's a lot of people in the car space. I've interviewed quite a few now. Even some guys from Canada called Daily Driven Exotics.
I actually watch their stuff. Big again, if the guys are watching, big fan.
Yeah, I met them on the Gumbel Rally, and they're top fellas.
They're the reason my Aventador is currently blown up. So I'm holding Damon Fry directly responsible, because I've seen him do his turbos on his F12, and I went and strapped turbos on the Aventador straight away. I was like, if DD are doing it and Cannon Run are doing it, so let's get the Aventador and let's twin turbo it. Did a year at 1,000 horsepower, and now it's in having a full engine rebuild. So thanks for the inspiration, guys.
So I've interviewed Lord Olim, Shmee, Mr. JWW, etc. Is there like a little bit of crossover between what you do as in the rally or the run, but then also like social media car influence type content? Can you explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, so we have a lot of people come on our trips that want the content. So we have plenty of YouTubers come on the events, because let's face it, if they can do it, like none of the people that you've mentioned there, by the way, but in general, if we have a YouTuber come who's got a really big following, and YouTube is the modern television, let's face it, then we're happy to do a deal with them where they come on the event. We can do them at a discounted rate, but obviously in return we're getting coverage to their network, aren't we, which is going to generate future business and stuff for us. So yeah, I think the influencer side of the car world, I think, is very important. I think they play a huge part in everybody expanding, because obviously they're what the younger guys watch. Like, we don't personally really do YouTube that much, because I'm not a YouTuber, I'm a business, I'm a brand, we're busy every day. So yeah, I think they play an important role in the motorsport industry. I think a lot of the guys that do it are great, and I think they've done really well to get in a position where they can afford to have this amazing lifestyle they've created through YouTube. I think it's phenomenal. Because
like Lord Olim, obviously he's got Platinum Executive Travel, which is his main business, but then attached to it is the YouTube stuff. It's a bit like here again. Main business is Woodbury House selling investment grade art, but then you also have the YouTube stuff, which is the podcast, which gives you a good bit of social credibility. And another person who's completely smashed it is Yanni. Got a wrapping car business, but also has got the whole Yanami's YouTube channel, which also brings in revenue. So do you think that's the modern way of doing business these days, having a YouTube channel?
I think it can be a massive attribute to your business, 110%, no question about it. Whether it's for everybody is a different thing. I don't have time. I'm far too busy to have a videographer walking around with me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, capturing everything that I'm doing. For starters, the person would be tired out by week 2. They wouldn't be able to keep up with the pace. I've been there and done it. And I'm not in a position in life where I need to gain extra revenue just through YouTube, even if it can produce a phenomenal amount of money, because I'm quite a private person. My circle's very small. I can count my friends on one hand, and I keep myself to myself. I know Instagram would portray a very different thing, but everything I talk about online is Cannon Run. Me as a person, Jay, I'm very much a home bird. I'm very private. I'm very chilled, and yeah, that's my take on it.
So touching back on the subject of influencers, high profile people, and also this world of social media, Andrew Tate.
Yeah.
Someone that has been, someone that a lot of people do admire,
yeah.
And there's a lot of hatred towards him, and so much so he's been cancelled. But it appears like he's coming back. And I saw recently on Tamer Hussein's social media, he was with him in Dubai.
Tam's in Dubai now, yeah, with him, yeah.
And Lord Olim, who's on my podcast recently, has also been in touch with him. Obviously, they've both got the Bugattis and stuff. I've noticed that he's now a director of your company.
So we'll have to rewind about 6 years here. So forget all the fame, all the fortune, top G shit and all that. That was never Andrew Tate that I met. So I was driving through London. I was actually driving through Marble Arch just down the road about 6 years ago. I was in a white Ferrari, had cannon run all over the car, and an Aston Martin came up behind me, a black one, and the number plate was T8SPY. So all I seen was spy, because Tate back then meant nothing to nobody. So he starts flashing his light to pull me over. So I pull the car over, jump out the car. I'm like, "You all right, mate? What's up?" This big guy gets out, 6'2", bald head. I'm like, "Oh, fuck's sake, here we go." So he's like, "Hey man, what's this cannon run?" So I was like, "Mega run, blah, blah, blah." I told him all about it. He booked 2 cars there and then, but the 2 cars that he booked on, he hired from me, because he only had 1 supercar back then. And we got on really well. Very similar people, as in business-minded, driven, you know, got a lot of similar views on stuff. Not on everything, but a lot of similar views on some stuff. And he's a stand-on guy most of the time with stuff. So the relationship developed from there. I used to rent supercars to him before, like I said before, Top G was ever a thing. Andrew had a Ferrari off me for 6 months in Romania. I actually delivered it to his house. I had to drive through Serbia. It was mental. His business partner had a Rolls-Royce Phantom off me for 12 months on hire. So the lad, they've battled. They didn't always have the money that they've had, and we worked alongside them. You know, there was trips weren't always paid up front like they would be now. Like, you'd always work with them a little bit if you needed to. Cash flow is a huge thing. And yeah, we've sort of grown alongside him, really, if you like. And he's become a friend. The stuff you see online with Andrew, there's a lot of cutting and shutting of videos there. And then you meet him in person, he's actually a gentleman, like a true gentleman. He's very softly spoken, he's very laid back, he's very quiet. He's not Mr. I am in front of people. He's just normal Andrew, especially when he's on the cannon run. There's not the big Top G thing isn't a thing. It's Andrew Tate on cannon run.
I noticed, feels like I'm interrogating you here, but he came on as a director 24th of March 2022?
Yeah, so he came on as a director, as a non-executive director, that is, which means he doesn't own any of the business at that point. So we do business with Andrew. We've bought and sold cars with him and a few other bits and pieces. So he became a director of the Cannon Run, and with a vision of bringing him into the business, officially into the business. So there was a meeting held in Romania. There was a deal discussed, a deal agreed. And as I'm sure you probably saw, which is where your question's coming from, that there was some press that got out with some headlines about Andrew buying into the business for 1.5 million and all the rest of it. So at the moment, the deal is on ice. We're fully stand on people. We always do what we say we're going to do. And circumstances change for some people. So at the moment, we've left it alone. I don't know if Andrew's in the same position he was 6 months ago, 12 months ago. Obviously, you can't believe everything you see on Instagram. So for us, at the moment, it's just, he's still a client. Yes, he's still a director. Yes, we'll still do business with him. But the percentage of the business that he was buying, I've parked that at the minute, because unless somebody is... If I say to you, right, I'm coming down to you on Tuesday to do your podcast, I'll be there. So unless I'm feeling the same from everybody in the same time, then I don't move forward with stuff.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? The only way I come to this is because when I look at any guest and do a little bit of research, just ask them, obviously, questions, if I type in your name into the internet, a lot of the time it'll say net worth. So I hit net worth to see if it comes up. And now a lot of the time, the net worth is way off and it's made up by some forum. But I like to ask it to the guest because it's just quite comical. And for some reason, it led me to the company's house. And then I saw... Because his name's Andrew Tate, but there's another name.
Emery.
Yeah, that's it. And I was like, is that really the Andrew Tate? Can't be the really Andrew Tate. Why the hell was Andrew Tate a part of the Cannon Run? And I thought, and then I went on, I actually hit his name on there, and it's a kickboxer. And I was like, it is him. It's got to be him. And then below it, I saw Tamu Hussain, who was ex-company director.
Yeah, so Tamu was a director for 12 months, yeah. So Tate's just Tate to me, bro. He's just one of the lads. I speak to him daily. for me, like it's still a bit mad that he's world famous and he's, you know, this person now, because for me he's only ever just been Andrew and just one of the lads who's a good lad, and we trust him and he trusts us, and yeah, that's it.
Is Andrew Tate as wealthy as he appears to be?
Andrew Tate is extremely wealthy, mate. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise, let me tell you. He's got a lot of money, mate. A lot of money, and let me tell you, he's worked fucking hard for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kickboxer?
Yeah.
I mean, I box myself. To become a world champion, anything you do takes a lot of graft.
So he's 4 times world kickboxing champion, and his brother Tristan is 5 times heavyweight world kickboxing champion.
So I was going to say they're tough as nails.
Tough as nails, mate. Yeah, but like the best of the best, mate. If you're in the circle with him and you're in that small sort of pocket, there's nothing that he won't do. He wouldn't do for you. If I rang him now and said, "Listen, I need to borrow £1 million today," he wouldn't ask me why. It wouldn't be any questions. He'd just go, "Send me the details, G." That's the level of trust that we have with him, and how much trust he's got in us.
On the note of these celebrities, high-profile people, etc., who is the most famous person that you've ever been around because of the Cannon Run?
Well, I guess really not blowing smoke, but Tate was Googled more times last month than Donald Trump and Kim Kardashian combined. He's probably the most famous man on the planet right now. So I don't think there is anybody more famous that I could give you a name than. And he comes as a client on the mega run particularly every single year, and he has done for the last 6 years. So that's your biggest name that you're going to know.
And any other top people?
Yeah, we've had Mist has been on Cannon Run several times. He actually brings his missus now and has a great time and treats it as a proper holiday. He's also a real good lad. I get on really well with him. Obviously Tama we've touched on. Tama's amazing, you know, he's very charismatic. He's a gentleman. He's very knowledgeable, and he really loves Cannon Run as a brand. Like he's got my back 10 out of 10. And that's the thing that we kind of find, really. No matter who you are that comes into the brand, whether you're, you know, your normal day-to-day person who's saved up to come on the event, or if you're a wealthy individual, or if you're a celebrity, everyone kind of sticks around as a family. It's like once you come, you don't really leave. And I think that's because you're surrounded by the same sort of like-minded people, and they know we don't want nothing from them. We don't, you know, they don't want nothing from us, vice versa. It's nice to be around them, you know, that table.
So part of the reason why I wanted you on the podcast to talk about cars, I love cars. I actually don't have my own car at the moment. Okay. I'm not going to cry for you. You've got an art gallery in London. I've been, so when I done the gumball, I hired over there from Canada an Aventador Roadster, and it just reminded me how much I love those sort of cars. But I'm in, at the moment, a growing phase with 2 businesses here and also the property company, and also this, I would say 3 things. And I just don't drive enough to have a car at the moment. I get a train uptown.
So you're coming on Cannon Run then, or what?
What?
Are you coming on the trip then?
I would love to, mate.
Yeah?
I would love to. So anyway, I want to talk about your cars. Okay? So the SV Lamborghini, one of my favourite cars.
It's not an SV.
It's not an SV.
It's not an SV.
It looked like an SV.
Looks like an SV.
So it's just a Roadster?
Yeah, it's just an LP 700 Roadster, yeah.
Right, okay. And it's twin turbo?
It sort kind of is, yeah. At the minute it's a bit poorly, but yeah.
So, okay, before it blew up, tell me why you bought the Aventador Roadster and why did you make it twin turbo?
I bought the Aventador Roadster because I crashed my Liberty Walk Ferrari on the mega run on the Hungaro ring. Car was writ off. I was devastated. And fact is, we needed another car as the business. You can't be the Cannon Run and not have a supercar, can you? It's mad. So when I bought the Aventador, I've always wanted an Aventador. I think they are not the best supercar on the road, but I think they have the most presence by a long shot, especially for the money. You've got to go hypercar really to beat the presence of an Aventador. So yeah, bought it, loved it, did 2 years of very pleasant, reliable, happy driving, and then twin turboed it and ruined everything. So it was great while it lasted, mate. It was 1,000 horsepower. It was an absolute monster. The noises it made were ridiculous. It used to change and dump the wastegates like an Evo, like a Mitsubishi Evo, but then have the V12 noise of a Lamborghini. It was crazy. But I had loads of teething problems with it. Nobody in the UK, apart from there's one guy, but the car's actually not here anymore, has done a twin turbo Aventador. Everybody else have done twin turbo Hurricanes and R8s, which if you know your cars, it's a much easier procedure. Like you can be literally in and out at the right garage in a day with a twin turbo kit on a Hurricane. So there was no book written for the Aventador, there was no guide, there was no help. It was all, you know, start to finish, a custom job. And there was just too many problems with it, mate. And it made me fall out of love with the car. Excuse me. It made me fall out of love with the car. And then the final nail was when the engine went a little bit pear-shaped, and yeah.
How much did that car in total, buying it, doing it up, putting the lights on it, putting the wrap on it, doing everything, how much did the car cost you?
Oh, mate. The car I paid 215 for from Phantom Motor Company. The twin turbo kit cost me about 50 grand when that was cheap at the time. It should have probably been 70 really. So that's 265. The kit cost me about 12 or 13 grand, so 275, let's say 280. Wheels, definitely 280 with the wheels. And then now it needs another engine, so you're talking 60, 70 grand for an engine.
How did you blow it up though?
To be fair, we've not actually diagnosed where the problems appeared from yet. We can't work out if something in internals failed for a reason other than being thrashed, if you like. Because at the time when the engine went, I wasn't going quick at all, so it was quite a shock. But I changed gear and I seen it dumped a load of blue smoke behind me. And if you know cars, you know blue smoke is a really bad sign. And then there was a little misfire, so change of plugs in it. Misfire got a bit better. But it's just not right. So
yeah,
taking the engine out, putting a new engine in and putting it back to standard. So it's back to reliable. 700 horsepower is enough for anybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the Aventador.
I totally agree with you about the theatre and about the drama of an Aventador. Obviously, me and my business partner just had like a standard one, which we wrapped it in the Richard Hamilton stop signs. I'll show you a picture later. And that even sounded really, really cool. The DDE boys had an SVJ and they had a Katani exhaust on it.
Mental
oh
sound.
My God.
Yeah.
I mean, there were P1s on there. There were some really, really big hypercars.
No sound.
Nothing. We even had a Bugatti on there. There wasn't anything that came close to that car.
There's no noise, mate, like it. There is no noise like it. And you touched on the Gintani exhaust. There's a company in the UK called Deutsche Tech, and they've developed an exhaust system which they're doing on my Lamborghini when it's done. So Ben, if you're watching this, make sure you give me a good discount because I've just plugged you. But they've developed an exhaust system which, dare I say, it sounds a little bit better than Gintani. So stay tuned for that, mate. I'd rather have that noise than turbo headache and just stay at 700 horsepower.
Definitely. You've also got a Huracan which is supercharged.
Yes. So
tell me a bit more about that car.
I bought the car sort of kind of built really. One of my sponsors, they're called Valo Industrial Services, they bought the car. They paid something mad like 25 grand to have the car painted in McLaren MSO grey, which is almost white. Full in and out job. I think it was actually done at a McLaren agent, like main agent. And then it was sent to JM Imports for a Cyvex ECU system, it gives you better launch control, it gives you better engine readings, and it's much more tunable than a stock ECU. And then it had a VF supercharger fitted with a smaller pulley, so it's about 860 horsepower. It's not twin turbo power by a long shot, but it's phenomenal off the mark because there's no lag from any turbos. It's a great car. I've enjoyed it thoroughly. I've actually just taken a deposit on it, so that's probably going to be going in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And
I see here you just bought a Ferrari F8.
No, it's not an F8, it's an SF90.
Okay.
It's the fastest production car Ferrari have ever made in the history. It's faster than an Enzo, it's faster than a LaFerrari Aperta LaFerrari. It's the first hybrid Ferrari, so it's got 3 electric motors. It can drive on full electric mode, but it also has 780 horsepower from a twin turbo V8 in the back. So it's four-wheel drive, 70% power to the back, 30% power to the front. It weighs nearly 2 tons because of the battery that are in it, but it does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. It's phenomenal. Very expensive car. I'm still a little bit kind of unsure what to do with it. When I drove it up the road the other day, it felt like, this may sound mad, but it's probably a little bit too good for us. Do you know what I mean? Because we do all these rallies and all this travelling, and our cars get a little bit more of a harder life than your average Ferrari owner who polishes it on a Sunday and takes it to the breakfast meet. Like, we're active, as you know. So with the value of the vehicle, I'm just it's actually not a supercar. It's a hypercar. That's what it's been dubbed as by Ferrari. Their first sort of hypercar, apart from after the LaFerrari, of course. So I don't know what to do with it. One part of me is absolutely gagging to get in it and take it up a runway and race everybody. But the other half of me is like, it's time to be a little bit sensible now. You've done all that stuff when you were young. You've raced Lambos, you've twin turbo stuff. You don't need to be doing that to a brand new car. So yeah, I'm kind of having that argument in my own head at the minute.
What other cars do you own?
How long have we got? I've got a few. I've got a 1993 Lamborghini Diablo, which has just had a full restoration. And when they say don't drive your dream, it's true, let me tell you, because it ruined everything for me. I had a yellow Diablo on my bedroom wall when I was a kid, and I loved them, and now I hate them because they drive horrendously, but they look great. I've just sold a beautiful Ferrari Testarossa that actually went last week, and so did our wide body F12. I don't know if you saw the red F12. So we had number 1 of 13 in the world at Duke Dynamics, carbon bodied Ferrari F12, but I sold that last week as well. What else have we got at the moment? I've got a BMW 1 Series, which is a full BTCC spec race car apart from the engine. The engine is a BMW M3 built by Cosworth, producing 460 horsepower, naturally aspirated. But when I say BTCC spec, it's got motorsport subframes, AP brakes, ProFlex suspension, AP pedal box, Hockley BTCC spec cage in it. It's a mad bit of kit. We've got an Audi R8 twin supercharged at the moment, which is 1,000 horsepower. McLaren 720S. I have to write them all down. Honestly, we've got so much stuff kicking about. I've got some Jap stuff. R34 Skyline. Mitsubishi Evo 9 GT, which is a 5-speed manual with the stronger diffs. An RS Turbo from the 90s. It's actually a 90 spec car. Mercedes SL. We've got loads and loads of cars, mate, kicking around all over the place. We've got a 72 plate Lamborghini Urus with a Mansory kit. I'm actually selling that. It's a beautiful car, but I think it's only done 900 miles or 1,000 miles, so I'm going to sell that before the value falls.
What car do you turn up in today?
We've got a Mercedes GLC 63, which everybody just kind of jumps in and uses at work, and when the weather's bad, that's what we come out in. So obviously it's snowing at the moment, and car being left in the street in London and stuff. So yeah.
And what's like your dream, the vision for you and buying other cars?
My dream car, like the pinnacle for me, is even though it's not as fast as the SF90, and it's probably maybe not as pretty to some people as a Bugatti Chiron, would be a LaFerrari Aperta. I think Ferrari is the real daddy of the supercar industry. I know Lamborghinis are phenomenal, and I'm a Lamborghini fan, as you know, massively. And I'm a Bugatti fan as well, of course, but I think Ferrari have just got that extra bit of class over everybody else. Yeah. And I think the LaFerrari Aperta, when you see it, between the noise of the V12 and the look of the car and the Ferrari heritage and all the rest of it, the LaFerrari is the one for me.
So with your brand, it's been going now for about 8 years. Where do you see it going over the next like 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
I don't look at that. People ask me this all the time, where do you see yourself in 10 years? I don't see myself anywhere in 10 years. What I see myself doing is continuing this work rate and this pace for the next 10 years and let everything else unfold, and then I will see where I am in 10 years, because hard work works, as you know. And I know the saying is probably a little bit cliche, but consistency is the key to success, mate.
It definitely is.
So for me, the plan is to be consistent, to keep working, to not take my foot off the gas, and to absolutely smash the next 10 years out, as I have done for the previous 10 years.
Clearly, you've got to be passionate with business and also cars, because they go hand in hand with your business. But let's be honest, the only real way that these things can be maintained is if you generate revenue and money. How important is making money to you?
Love it, mate. Doing a deal is the same buzz as some of the best things I've ever experienced in my life. Like when you get that deal over the line, even if it's a new mega run customer that comes on, I still get that same buzz now from signing up a new person to my brand as I did on day one. And I don't think that'll ever fade. Like, I love the deal, I love the chase, I love the sale. And I think that's been bred in me from a young age. You know, my dad was always heavily involved in business, sales of all sorts of different stuff, scrap metal, cars, businesses, property. So for me, you know, it's always been a real important part of it. And whether it's a car that's been bought and sold, or we've bought a property, or like this week we actually purchased a yacht, that's been on my bucket list for a long time.
I was going to ask you actually, I saw the Instagram post 3 days ago, and the quote was, I'm paraphrasing a bit, today we've just purchased a 78-foot yacht. I mean, how has that come about?
Oh mate, honestly, for me that's like a big thing for me. Like when I met my business partner James, he owned a big share in another boat in Marbella. Boat shares, if you don't know, are a thing. You can own a portion of a yacht for a much cheaper price. Obviously, a lot of people can't spend their full time on them anyway. So James had a share in a yacht, and that kind of, when he took me on it, I was like, wow. And this was only a 50-foot yacht, and I'm sat on it. Like, this is going back 5-6 years ago, and ever since then, it's been on my bucket list. It's been on my hit list. And me and James did everything together. Like, and I keep pecking him. I'm like, oh, come on, let's have another boat, bro. And he's like, no, I'm done with it. I'm done with it. And one of our friends who lives in Jersey, he took this particular yacht in part exchange on some property, and he rang us and sent us the brochure for the boat, and there was a digital PDF to go through and stuff. No, not a digital PDF, sorry, what's it called? A virtual tour, which you go through on your phone. It's like a video of the whole thing. And we sat there looking at it, and it was just, for the money that the boat is, and the value that we're getting, we couldn't not buy it. And as I'm sure you probably saw in the post, I've opened the door for maybe a couple of people to come on as shareholders. Only a small percentage. I only want to really sell 2/8 of the boat. But I would only do it with friends or someone that I know is substantial in business that's going to look after it the way that I would treat my own stuff, because that will become a second home for me and James, you know, as we use it and keep it. So yeah, big milestone for us, that, mate. Well, particularly for me anyway. Still a little bit in awe, really, to be honest.
Yeah, it's incredible achievement. I've got a friend of mine who has a boat in Marbella, Turkish guy. He's got one of the largest private care homes in the country. He just got rid of, it's called Matus. It means like in Turkish like war boat or something. And now he's got a new one which is bigger, and it's called Tucson. So you'll see it there. It's Pangaea, right by Pangaea.
Okay, yeah.
It's absolutely huge. So yeah, I mean, for me in the future, if I could get a boat of any magnitude, really, like a decent one, it's definitely a big tick.
Well, for me, like the boat, obviously prices on yachts are phenomenal, as you know, and like you ain't getting nothing good for under £1 million. And when this one came up, this has got 4 double bedrooms with en suites on every bedroom. It's a big old thing, like. And I just couldn't really say no, and wouldn't get that opportunity again. So
yeah. So just outside of cars and also boats and stuff, and I can see here you like your nice watches and stuff like that. How do you treat yourself when you actually make some money?
You won't really ever see me wearing anything too much designer. I like a nice pair of trainers. I've got a couple of pairs of Louis Vuitton trainers, a couple of pairs of Versace trainers, but nothing ridiculous or out of the ordinary. And I'll only ever buy something like a watch if I know I've got money safe in it. So like this watch, there's always going to be worth 15 grand. That's it. Money's always going to be safe. It's sound. So if I'm going to treat myself, if we ever do well in business, I'll try and buy something which I know is an asset, rather than going spending 800 quid on a Louis Vuitton tracksuit or 5 grand on a Louis Vuitton coat, which you're going to wear 5 times and then it's worth £1 grand, or it's worth nothing because it's a tracksuit which you've had your sweaty balls in. Do you know what I mean? So for me, I'd rather wear my own brand every day. I've got my own apparel range and stuff. Why would I go and spend 1,000 quid on a tracksuit? I'm not saying I haven't done it in the past, because I have when I was younger, but now as I've got older, I don't feel the need to, I don't want to, I'm not interested. Designer gear is great, but let's have it right, mate. The quality ain't even always there, is it?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
For me, don't mind buying a nice pair of trainers, because obviously your feet are important, and a watch is sound, or a bit of jewellery's all right, because your money's always safe if you get it in the trade.
Yeah.
But for designer gear, mate, I'm not interested in wasting the money.
Yeah. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you, mate. Like I said before to you, on air and off air, you know, cars, art, lifestyle, all goes hand in hand, and no doubt our paths will cross some point in the future, whether that's business or whether that's us coming on the Cannon Run or whatever else. I always ask my podcast guest this last final question, which goes like this. When I first started my first brand, I came up with a mantra, which is be happy, never content. So if I were to ask you, Jay Cannon, what does be happy, never content mean to you?
Be happy, never content for me would mean be happy with what you're doing, but never feel content to the point where you get lazy or complacent. That's how I would take that. So be happy, make sure you're enjoying your life, but don't be lazy, don't become too complacent, don't get too content, because that's when you can start slipping, especially in business.
Definitely. All right. Top man, mate. Thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to getting this one out. Be happy, never content, and make sure you subscribe. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
Cool.